Speaker. Ian McKelvey.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This bill, the Conservation Natural Heritage Protection Bill, is brought to the House by that very solid member from Waitaki, Jackie Dean, in an effort to put a stop to the exploitation and theft of our living treasures in this country, and also the environment they live in. It's designed to do this by imposing more severe penalties. Mr Speaker, there's a very pertinent piece of Maori folklore, I guess, that goes as follows. Toito te whenua, whaitanga rongaro te tangata. Not very well pronounced, but I'll tell you what it means, seeing as I can't pronounce it. What it means is the land is always there and people are merely passing by. So I guess it's most pertinent when it comes to this piece of legislation, because in fact the land will always be there, provided we look after it, and we are just merely passing by. The bill is designed to stop those passing by from damaging, plundering and pillaging that has always been there. Mr Speaker, we, like all other people around the world, spent generations, or have spent generations, damaging the environment we live in. We knew not what we did, I guess. Now we have such good information, scientific evidence, visual evidence and the history to understand what we need to do to protect what we have left for future generations. This bill contributes to that effort, Mr Speaker. I want to spend a little bit of time tonight, however, talking about some of the treasures that exist in the Rangitikei, and I'll start with the blue duck, or whio, endemic to New Zealand, or native to New Zealand, with no other duck like it in the world. These ducks are one of the only 3 species of bird in the world that live or inhabit fast-flowing clean water. They're amazing to watch, very pretty and clever. However, they have been decimated by predators, stoats, possums, cats, and of course by human beings throughout our history. There are only some 2,500 of them left today. They exist throughout the northern Rangitikei and of course a number of other places in New Zealand, and they're about equally spread, I think, between the North and South Island. They do, however, exist in some of our most beautiful parts of New Zealand and least accessible parts of New Zealand. The reason they live there is because they've been, I guess, chased there. There's many enthusiastic volunteers spend hours and hours protecting these ducks and their environment. And this Act will assist them, as smuggling them out of the country will no longer be as easy or attractive. And I touched on the volunteers because I wanted to talk about, briefly, some of the comments that have come from, particularly the other side of the House, about the funding and staff cuts that they perceive have happened to conservation. Not only to conservation, I might add, they go on about the same sort of cuts that have occurred in MPI and police. They fail to account entirely for efficiency and new technology, and that's most pertinent in the police situation, alternative sources of money, and they even fail to qualify for an improved quality of staff that we now employ in a lot of government departments. Not only that, Mr Speaker, but we also have a significant lift in volunteer support for many of these initiatives. And I talked a minute ago about the volunteers and the work they do around the blue duck and a number of our other environmental features. And in the south of the Rangitikei, the Manawatu River runs to the sea at Foxton. And through that estuary area, which actually is in Nathan Guy's electorate, but I'll claim to be his neighbour, which we also have plundered historically from diverting the river and all sorts of other acts. This area hosts birds from the Arctic, rare and migratory birds, the godwit, the red knot and the Pacific plover, the royal spoonbill and the unique wrybill. Anyone who's seen a bunch of royal spoonbill will realise they're quite a sight. Massive great white birds with long black beaks. A flock, thank you. Other very relevant features of this area include flax. And it would be very useful to have a bit of flax in here at the moment. I could use it productively. But nonetheless, Mr Speaker, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's one of our pieces of our history that's most important to us. So the Rangitikei, like many other parts of New Zealand, has those features and bits of our history which are most important to us, and it's hugely important that we preserve them. and this bill goes a little way to doing that. I want to also just touch on Eugenie Sage's comments that the government's moving the balance against nature in favour of development. And I want to just put a little case to you with respect to the Ruataniwha, or the proposed Ruataniwha Dam. We've spent in that area 150 years getting the environment to where we've got it to now. Whether that's good, bad or indifferent is a matter of opinion. But what the dam has the potential to do, which I think is totally underestimated by its opponents, is it has the potential to give us the ability to rectify a whole lot of things that we've damaged through the way we've farmed, used our land and used our country over the last 150 years. Because if you think about it, putting a dam in that area gives that area the opportunity to significantly increase production for a start, but also to significantly increase the amenity value, to make our rivers much more reliable, or the rivers in that area much more reliable, to clean them up, to make them more friendly for fish as they are able to take the peaks and lows out of play. So I think, Mr. Speaker, because of the way we've moved over the last 150 years with our environment, we are not going to fix it by letting it go back from whence it came. We have to help it get back to where it came from. And so I'm a great supporter of the changes to the RMA and changes to all sorts of processes that will allow us to get our environment going in a manner that I think will help New Zealand's future, will put our environment back to where it came from, will create the opportunity for our rarer species to continue to live and to breed up significantly. And again, to refer to the blue duck, that is one of our rare birds that has certainly increased in population in the last few years, and it's going to continue to increase in population if we continue to manage it in the manner we have. Mr. Speaker, one gets a great appreciation of one's own importance in life when you consider that a minute gecko is worth $100,000 and a 60-year-old male is probably only worth food value. And I think that really sums up the need for this bill and the importance that it's got in our future. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a good piece of legislation, and I congratulate Jackie Dean, Nikki Wagner and her Select Committee for getting the bill as far as they have in such good order. Mr. Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.
Raymond Ho.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. About 3 weeks